You searched something today, and Google answered it without sending you anywhere. No page of blue links to pick through, just a paragraph written for you sitting where 10 websites used to be. And you probably didn't think twice about it, because it worked. You got your answer, and you moved on. But something happened in that moment that nobody asked you about, and it changes who you're actually trusting when you look something up. Google calls it AI mode. It's live, it's real, and it's slowly becoming the default shape of search. The strange part is what it does to the websites you never clicked. Let's be precise about what Google actually shipped, because the hype around this is heavier than the facts. Google has two related things running in search. One is AI overviews, the summary block that appears above results for a lot of queries. The other is AI mode, a separate tab and experience inside Google Search powered by its Gemini models, where you ask a question in normal language and get a written, conversational answer with links folded into it. Google announced AI mode publicly and has been expanding where it shows up and what it can handle. You can still get classic results, but the front door is changing, and that matters more than the tab itself. Here's the guiding question for the next 10 minutes, and I want you to hold on to it. If Google answers you instead of pointing you somewhere, how do you still find the real website behind the answer? Because that's the whole game. Search was never actually about answers. It was a directory with an opinion. You typed a few words, Google ranked the web, and you decided who to believe by clicking. AI mode removes the deciding step. It reads the pages for you and hands you a conclusion. Convenient, genuinely. Also a very different relationship with information than you had last year. So let's open the hood. Under the hood, AI mode does something Google describes as query fan out. Think of it like this. You ask one question. Instead of running one search, the system quietly breaks your question into a bunch of smaller sub-questions and searches all of them at once across the web index and Google's own data. Then a Gemini model reads what came back and writes one answer that stitches it together. It's less like a librarian handing you a shelf and more like sending 20 interns into the stacks, having them skim everything, and getting a single memo back. Faster for you. And it means your answer is assembled from pieces you never see individually. That memo analogy matters because of what memos do. They compress. Someone decided which details survived and which got trimmed. In a normal search, you saw the disagreement. 3 sites said one thing, 2 said another, and you noticed the tension and dug in. An AI answer usually smooths that over into one confident voice. Google does attach links and citations inside AI mode, so the sources are reachable. But reachable and read are not the same thing, and you know it, because you don't click them either. Which brings up the obvious worry. If the model is doing the reading, what happens when the model is wrong? And it does get things wrong. Google has publicly acknowledged that AI overviews produced some bad answers after launch, and it said it made changes to reduce that. Everyone remembers the screenshots. The point isn't that AI search is broken. It's that the failure mode moved. When 10 links were wrong, you noticed the weird site and skipped it. When one summary is wrong, it looks exactly like when it's right. Same clean font, same confident tone. There's no visual difference between a sentence pulled from a medical body and a sentence pulled from a forum joke. That's the actual shift. Verification used to be built into the layout. Now it's something you have to choose to do. So why should you care beyond feeling slightly uneasy? because this touches your money and your work in ways that are already happening. If you run a small site, a blog, a recipe page, a local business, your traffic model was built on being clickable. Someone searched, saw your headline, clicked, and maybe bought something or saw an ad. When the answer appears above you, some of those people never arrive. Publishers have been vocal about this, and some have taken legal action over it. Whether the drop is huge or modest depends wildly on the query, and nobody outside Google has a full picture. But the direction isn't ambiguous. And if you don't run a website, you're still on the other end of the same pipe. Your job search, your health question, your comparison shopping, your kids' homework. All of it increasingly arrives pre-chewed. If breakdowns like this one are useful to you, subscribing genuinely helps, because this is the kind of change that gets normalized quietly while everyone argues about chatbots. Now, the practical part. There's a simple habit that gets you back to real websites, and it takes about 2 seconds. Google didn't hide it. Most people just never look for it. Let me show you exactly where it lives. Google still gives you the classic list. In search, there's a way to filter to web results, the plain link view without the AI block on top, and Google has said it added that web filter as an option. On desktop and mobile, it sits in the tools or filter row alongside things like images and news. Pin that in your head. When the question is one where you need the source, a policy, a price, a document, an actual human's opinion, switch to it. Not because AI mode is useless, because the shape of the answer should match the stakes of the question. And there's a second trick that's even more useful. The second trick is to read AI answers as a table of contents, not a verdict. Skim the summary to learn the vocabulary of your problem, the names, the terms, the 2 options people argue about. Then take those specific words and search them directly, or click the citation that looks like an actual primary source. You're using the model for orientation and using the web for evidence. That's the split that keeps you sharp. And once you start doing it, you notice something about who this whole shift actually rewards, because it's not evenly distributed at all. The clear winners are Google and anyone who already owns a brand you type by name. If people search your company directly, you were never really dependent on ranking. Big publishers with licensing deals and strong direct audiences survive fine. So, do platforms with logged-in users, apps, newsletters, YouTube channels, communities. Anything where people come to you on purpose. AI mode also genuinely helps you when your question is messy and long, the kind of thing you used to search 3 times and give up on. That's a real improvement, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But the loser column is more specific than most people assume. The pages most exposed are the middle of the web. Not the giant news brands, not the beloved niche communities. The informational how-to pages, the definition articles, the roundups, the answer a simple question posts. Those exist to satisfy a query, and a summary satisfies the same query without them. If that's your whole business, this is a structural problem, not a ranking problem you fix with better keywords. And there's a knock-on effect that's harder to talk about. If it stops paying to write the reference page, fewer get written. The model reads the web to answer you. That part is worth sitting with. Now, the honest limitation, because I don't want to oversell the drama. Nobody outside Google can tell you exactly how much traffic AI mode moves or removes. The public data is patchy. The effects vary by query type, and Google has said links in AI experiences can drive quality visits. Independent measurements exist, but they disagree with each other and with Google. Treat any single confident number you see as unconfirmed. What's not in dispute is the interface change, and interfaces decide behavior. Which leads to the part I actually find most revealing about all of this. The revealing thing is what Google is really building. AI mode isn't a summary feature bolted onto search. It's the beginning of search that acts. Google has been extending it toward multi-step tasks, following up on your question, handling things like finding and comparing options rather than just describing them. The end state isn't a shorter answer. It's an assistant that does the clicking on your behalf. Once that happens, the blue link doesn't just get demoted. It becomes plumbing, something the machine uses and you never see. That's the real transition, and it's already underway. So back to the question we started with. How do you still find the real website? You do it on purpose. You use the web filter when accuracy matters. You treat the AI answer as a starting map instead of a destination, and you follow the citation when the stakes are real. That's it. It's not sophisticated, it's just deliberate, and deliberate is the whole skill now. The people who get burned in the next few years won't be the ones who avoided AI. They'll be the ones who never checked. What to watch for is simple. Watch whether the web filter stays easy to reach. Watch whether AI mode becomes the default tab rather than an option, and watch what publishers do when they realize the summary is the destination. Those three signals will tell you more than any announcement. And if you want the honest version of these shifts, without the doom and without the cheerleading, stick around. I break down one real AI development at a time here, and this one's going to keep moving. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.